Welcome back to another episode of Stereotherapy. I'm your host, Lisa.
And I'm Justine.
Today is a very special episode. So, we've had a couple reschedules, which life happens. We're always good about that. But we've been wanting to do this episode, so it kind of just gives us the
Yeah.
push to do it. So, we're going to be talking about obviously this record, So Long Avalon by Anthony Green. And for those of you that don't know, obviously Avalon back in 2008 came out, his solo record. And that's also very special for Justine and I. That's how we met in line at Reggie's Rock Club in Chicago for that tour for Avalon. And now we have this wonderful re-recorded record. So we're going to dive into So Long Avalon. And I know what some of you guys are going to say. All you guys do is talk about Anthony Green and the projects,
Like,
but music and
hey,
mental health.
like you should be expecting that an Anthony Green album comes out in any capacity. Obviously, we're going to be talking about it. So
Right.
it's necessary.
Right. It has to happen. So really glad that we got everybody else rescheduled that had to, but now we get to do this. So obviously, I think we just have to start here with how important Anthony Green, whether music, him as a person is to us. And Justine, I'm gonna let you kind of take it away. How important is Anthony Green, music, him as a person to you?
So we went into it a lot, like in our circuit episode.
Yeah.
So make sure you go back and listen to that one as well. I'm gonna try and not keep it exactly the same, the
Yeah.
best I can.
Right.
But the really great thing about Anthony is that his work is so versatile. No matter what your taste in music is, you're gonna have something you love. So you have like Zoloft, the Rock and Roll Destroyer, then you have Seosin, you have Circa, you have his solo, you have Sounds of Animals Fighting, you got Ellis Dunes. And that really just proves how talented this man is.
hmm
Because there's so many people that cannot go from that shift of one type of genre to another. But he has that capability and he does it so well. And the thing about this scene is that a lot of your favorites will end up being like an asshole or, quite frankly, in this scene, a predator.
hmm
But I know I personally feel lucky and grateful to have had Anthony be my favorite since I've been in my late teens.
hmm
He's always been so genuine and kind to his fans, and you can just tell that he actually cares about
Yeah.
his fan base in general, whereas so many artists they don't have that. Like they say they care about their fans, but you don't really see it. It doesn't feel genuine enough. But he has that. I mean, after all, he did tell somebody to not bring their 6-day-old baby at the show to go because that's crazy. Like
Yeah.
for your health, why are you going there? Like for your health and the baby's health, you know? And it's like I'm sure that there are some musicians that wouldn't care about that, you know?
Mhm.
And it's just been really great to not only have myself grow with his music, but see him grow as a person as well. And I've been able to have him through so many ups and downs in my life when it comes to his music and his shows. And I'll go in that a little more in a little bit, but it's I could never ever enough say how important this man is to me in my life.
Yeah, and like even just right there, I start to get a little like I did when I saw him in Asbury, which I know we'll touch
Yeah.
on like this tour. Like I get a little, it's a little emotional about it. I know
Gets you a little weepy.
some people may
Yeah.
feel it's really weird, but much like you, right? Like I
Hmm.
think of when I started seeing him play, God, it would be 20-ish years of watching him in
Yeah.
anything he's done. And I
Hmm.
remember just like, man, if only I could meet Anthony Green. Like I
Hmm.
loved him as a
Yeah.
singer, loved that. And I remember my first meeting actually was when I met you at the first tour for Avalon in,
Yeah.
I think that show was 2009, but I know Avalon was out in
I think
2008.
it was a little bit later
Yeah.
for that tour because I got to see him actually the first line of shows he did
hmm
ever for
Right.
Avalon because I went out east to see
Right.
that and he only
That's where they
played
were.
that little strip of East Coast.
Yeah. It,
And so I got to see him in 2008 for it. And then I
Mhm.
think a little later he did more shows throughout the country. But yeah.
Yeah. And that was where this is so funny, but I was reading an AP and it was him on the cover. And I remember the cover and
Yeah.
I had it and I was really nervous. I was sitting next to you, I remember, but I was really, really
Hmm.
nervous. We got there early in hopes to meet him. And
Yeah.
I remember sitting there with my magazine open and I see him around the corner and I was like, oh my gosh, me being the young girl I am and doing that. And I remember he just looks at me and says, hey, you write me nice things on MySpace. And I did. Like he was my favorite singer. So I was like, great show or great song, blah, blah, blah. And I remember that and I remember like, okay, whatever, we got a picture. But it was, I think of every show, then obviously being a huge Circus Survive fan, I would go to all the
Hmm.
shows and I just would be that person that would wait. And I think
Yeah.
when I think about my music and the soundtrack of my life, there are so many songs, like you said, whether it was a good
Mhm.
moment, a non-moment, I always turn, like we talk about music and mental health on here and music being like therapy. His music is that. It has always
Yeah.
been that. And I can pick from so many different parts of him. But
Yeah.
honestly, it was like you just said, he cares about his fans. Like
Mhm.
there have been so many moments of friends that I've met in Chicago that maybe they couldn't get into the show, or some friends that they were concerned about. I want to use the right terminology. I don't want to mess this up, but like ADA, they wanted to make sure. And one of the venues we were at didn't have great access. And I remember him and Colin making sure this fan was in and able to get in
Mhm.
comfortably. And then, of course, like I'm just gonna say the biggest thing is there was always a time at a VIP or after show, before a show, that he would ask how it was doing because maybe
Mhm.
previous tour, we talked, check in. And honestly, when I started this podcast, and I know some people are gonna be like, oh, that's the only, maybe the reason why you're a big fan, but no, it's not. I've been a fan forever. But
Yeah.
one of the things is he saw, and I didn't even, he saw our podcast. And I, from that day, has always supported it, asked how I was doing with it,
Yeah.
who's coming on, and immediately wanted to come on the podcast, made the time, everything he did to make it happen that day, which we're the only two people that know, but everything he did that day is just showing me how much he cares about fans. And
Yeah.
I know we're not the only ones. There are fans I know that are photographers. There are
Yeah.
fans that I know, zines, whatever it is, makes the time for those fans. And I think one of those things, again, like you said, I'm so lucky that's my favorite musician that I
Yeah.
can say, like,
Yeah.
that's my favorite musician
It's
and
just,
wonderful.
it's one of those things where so many like people don't realize that even the musicians that end up getting super super big,
Yeah.
okay, and selling out like big things, like they always remember the fans that have shown up for a very long time.
Yes.
And it's like and I can only imagine because there's a sense of familiarity,
Hmm.
whereas like obviously like we don't know him,
Right.
okay, like
Yeah.
obviously like
Right.
but there's
No.
still like we know each other, so
Hmm.
even if we didn't like meet at some point, like he would be able to recognize our face in the crowd.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize that, that sometimes that is comforting for these bands, but also give it, things are a little bit different. Back then, it was easier to meet your favorite
Yeah.
musician, but at the same time, still, I think what's really important for everybody to know is like, no matter how big a band is that you like, especially if it's smaller, they're going to remember you. If you're going to
Yeah.
show up, I think that's important to say too. Like, if you show up for a band and it's like before they're like really big, they're gonna remember you if you
Mhm.
keep like showing up and being there. Like sometimes, in a way, like it pays off in a way for you to feel like, oh my gosh, okay, like they can recognize my face,
Mhm.
or it's just, and that's like just the best I can say. Like, support your band, support them from a lower level,
Yeah.
keep going out, because the thing is you never know, like that band that you like that's local at some point could blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can be like, "Look, I have all these, like, basement show pictures that, like,"
Oh,
and you
yeah.
just never know who's gonna end up like that, and I think it's important for the younger crowd especially to remember that, whereas, like, we had those things like Warped Tour back in the day where we were able to
Mm-hmm.
meet the bands like that, they were a little bit more accessible in general beforehand as well, but, like, it still matters that if you like a band and they're smaller, to keep supporting them because you just never know.
Yeah,
You
and I
never know if they blow up.
no, and like that's the other thing on too, and the only thing I'll add on to that is like obviously too is so some people will ask me, "Oh my gosh, how do you know him?" And again, like
Mhm.
I don't know him. I know him
Yeah, yeah.
whatever the sense of I'm the fan that
Mhm.
he knows now on the East Coast, used to be Chicago. I would
Yeah.
be at any other show, but it's
Mhm.
or in travel. I was a big traveler, but it's one of those things I think too, as long as you're respectful too. Like I think
Yes.
over the years, I've
Yes.
never pushed boundaries or been one of those people to
Yeah.
think I was more than that. And I think that's
Yes.
really
That's a huge
important.
problem now more than ever, I
Yeah.
feel. I feel like as the years have gone on, that the idea of boundaries has gotten worse and worse, and I don't know if it's just because, like, some of these younger generations didn't get to go to shows like we got to back in the day because of, like, what happened during the pandemic kind of really, stunted that area for a lot of people. But this just, if you feel like you're probably being kind of creepy, you're probably being pretty creepy. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, it's one of those things where, obviously there's times where, like, sometimes it's hard for you to understand, like, what's too much just if you have like certain things like there is like a thing with like autistics if you are like a higher level sometimes that part of your brain is not like hey like you don't know them like that you need to like chill but at the same time it's like even if you talk to them a lot, they know you. He only knows us as a fan.
Right.
He knows us as fans. We
Hmm.
understand that he's like he's our favorite musician, but like he's not our best friend. Like,
No, no.
we
Yeah.
have this relationship in a way of he's musician and we're fans.
Hmm.
But the thing is, we're not gonna cross that barrier
No.
and it's like and it's not saying that we're not ever fangirls because like
Uh,
especially when I was younger oh my god
hmm.
like, don't get me wrong, like, we
Yeah.
all can be that
Yes, and I can
person.
pinpoint
Like
specific things that I'm like,
right?
why did he like not think I
Yes.
was annoying as
Yes.
hell? Why does
Like
he still talk to me when he sees me? Because, but and again,
yeah.
I only bring that up because like when you were saying like how we
Mhm.
would see him so many times, and I think sometimes the fan bases have to understand that, and I see it with him where they have to understand that
Yeah. Mhm.
it's great to be a fan. It's
Yeah.
amazing to be a fan. I've gotten so many opportunities because I'm a fan. That
Yeah.
is why.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about him, just in reality of this podcast.
Yeah.
I've gotten so many opportunities because I'm a fan. And I think it's great. But I think the number one thing that I just hope
But
people and
there's a
they
difference between fan and stalker.
yes. Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and that's a conversation that like,
Yeah.
ooh, okay. But I mean, I think too, just to get back onto him a little bit is
Yeah.
like all these things of yeah, he's just super important to
Mhm.
music. And I know so many
Yeah.
people that have told me things like even the episode we did and how vulnerable he was and how thankful they were because they feel similar. And
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
that was the number one thing I wanted to get out of that episode was for him to have a place to say these things and
Mhm.
also forever thankful for his trust and
Yeah.
in that and yeah forever thankful and obviously we're going to talk about Avalon and so long Avalon but we got to yeah because Avalon was 2008 so
I'm
2025
like,
we're in
"Oh
this
my
year
gosh."
so long
Like,
Avalon and
so wild. Like,
insane
it's
to think
one of
about
those things where it's like as well, like being a fan and and then you're like, "Oh my gosh, has it really been that long?"
yeah like I had to go
It's
look.
so strange.
And I remember where I was when I heard the first Avalon. And I was really excited because even like dying to reach you, I would have on my little
Mhm.
iPod. My friends and I would drive around because I always loved Anthony Green's vocals. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, all right, this baby girl record. And of course, I loved Avalon. I loved that tour. I remember The one we saw him, it was like Good Old War was there with him. And
Yes.
it was so amazing. Which Good Old War, oh my God, I could go
Shout
on
out to
about
Good Old
them.
War and Keith Goodwin.
So good. And I
Love
think,
them.
and
Love that
too, when
band.
we talk about the importance of music and mental health, their friendship, and I know Anthony
Yes.
talks about that, is so important to
Hmm.
him. And I think that's really amazing to see Keith Goodwin once again a part of So Long Avalon. So I think
Yes.
and a really important his whole band is just phenomenal. And on
Yes.
this record, you hear it. So the one thing I like when I first heard Avalon, obviously I loved it so much. I was gonna love it anyway. I didn't care. I love anything solo Anthony
Yeah.
Green did at that point. But now hearing this one after all his other projects that I love so much, this So Long Avalon to me was like I was hearing the record that I loved, but in
Mhm.
an entirely different way.
Yes.
And I fell back in love with it. Fell back
Hmm.
in love with some of the songs that maybe I was like, oh, I haven't heard that in a while, but like it's
Hmm.
good. And I think that there's so many beautiful moments in this record that I'm just like, whoa. And then again, like seeing him live, which I know we'll touch on with you too, and we'll go into
Yeah.
that. But like this record, I think if no one, if you haven't heard it, or you're like, I've heard Avalon before, or I don't like his solo stuff,
Yeah.
which his solo stuff, I'm just going to say this here, and I hope it's not offending anybody, like, or like even, I don't think he's listening to this, but if he did, but um,
Yeah.
I love Circa. I love Sound of Animals Fighting.
Hmm.
I love Ellis Dunes. I love Seosin. Even fucking whatever he did, that short-lived. I love that. But I truly think his solo work is some of his best music,
Hmm.
period.
Yeah.
I think you
No, I
take
agree.
any of those solo records, like
I
when I tell
agree.
people how many solo records they are,
Yeah.
they're like, what?
Yeah.
Yes. And I was talking to
Hmm.
some fans I met at the show that went there alone. And that's another thing about his shows is they are just phenomenal and you meet the best people. But
Yes. Hmm.
one of those things of we were talking about like all his solo records. But
Yeah.
this
Uh-huh.
record, I was like, this is just so special. You can hear these songs re-recorded in such a
Yeah.
beautiful way to give them new life. And for me, as like and just like you, a fan for
Mhm.
so long,
Yeah.
it was so cool to dive back into this record with a different mindset of each song, even like
Yeah.
Baby Girl, because Baby Girl, it's a fan favorite. And I get it. It's a fan, I love it too, but
Yeah.
it made me love it in a different way. And I think that was one of the things that when I heard So Long Avalon, I was like, this is phenomenal. This is everything I want. And I think if someone was a new fan or never heard of his solo stuff, I mean, start everywhere, but start with this one because this is
Yeah.
just phenomenal.
I would advise anybody newly getting into his solo work. I would almost say like listen to this one as opposed to the original,
Hmm.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no disrespect. We love that one,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
with you 100. I
Hmm.
think it truly shows the growth. It shows,
Yes. I was gonna say,
um,
then you could go back and just like
right.
you can do like a side by side comparison, and I feel like
Hmm.
you would understand why. I was like, I would suggest getting into this version first,
Yeah.
to be able to base on the rest of his solo.
Yeah. And like, so like now that I rambled on about So Long Avalon and that for you, what are your kind of thoughts on it? Because I don't think we've ever really, we even talked,
Yeah.
oh my God, we love it. We talked about that. But for
Yeah.
you, how
I don't think we ever got
special?
into depth about it though.
No. So for you, what's so special about Avalon, So Long Avalon? Any thoughts like that you have about it?
Yeah, so like I had kind of a similar kind of stance on it. Like when I first listened to the original, I
Yeah.
immediately loved it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it is quite a bit different, obviously, compared to Circa and Seosin.
Mm-hmm.
Like at that point, that's all we had of his work, really, besides the earlier like Zola. But like sometimes that was hard for some people to find back in the
Right.
day.
Yeah, it was hard,
Like,
right?
and then when I found it, I was like, God, I love this. But
Yeah.
like it was just a big difference between what we were used to hearing back then. Like you have something that's more like happy and like upbeat. Whereas, we're used to more like heavy stuff that can get kind of screamy or like, and it's just a different, total different genre to be listening to. And getting this album to hear them all again, like you said, it was like listening to it again for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the best I can describe, like, the difference between, like, the original and then this is, like, listening to the original is almost like when you hear the demo versions
Right.
of songs.
Yeah.
It's just these versions are more put together.
Hmm.
And if you're like new to his solo stuff altogether, you might not realize that this is technically like the third version that we've
Right.
gotten of these songs because originally Colin made remixes of all the songs, which also were great.
Yeah.
And it made it a different sound as well. But you only had the like they were remixes, so like you obviously couldn't hear those versions played.
Right.
So it was a little different. But like it just feels like a more solid, like, this was how it was supposed to be, like, initially, like, how he wanted it to actually end up. Whereas the first one's kind of just like, it wasn't quite there, but still great. And I was lucky enough to be able to be in that original tour, like I said, on the East Coast. He only played like a few like places. Let's see. I got to see him in Philly, in New Jersey, and then where else? Did I go to New York? I can't remember. So long ago.
I'm going to tell
But
you though, that is a good point. I talk about Thursday bringing me here.
mhm,
Hearing about these shows, whether
yeah,
it was Anthony or anyone I loved, that is why I wanted to come to the East Coast. I'm like, they get
mhm.
everything. What
It's literally
the
why
heck?
I used to tell people back in the day I wanted to be able to move to Jersey, and they all made fun of me. They're like, "Surely you mean New York?" I was like, "No."
Right. That's
I
what
was
everybody
like,
told me.
"No, I
Yeah.
wanted to move to Jersey," and they all thought it was weird.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of all these bands we loved. All these
Yeah.
bands we loved were all from Jersey, and it's like, that's where I wanna be. I wanna be in their home base, like, this is where
Mm-hmm.
I wanna be, and people thought that was weird. And so when you got to move out there, it was like, "Damn, girl, you're living the dream." You
I, yeah.
living the dream. You ended up
Yeah.
exactly where we all wanted to go.
It's yeah, and it's wild. Like that's why I think when I see your pictures of these shows and you would tell me about like I would see your posts like you go to Starland and here and all
Mhm.
these places too for Circa, like not his solo stuff, but it was like, yeah, like you were such a traveler for that music and you
Yeah.
could tell how much I wanted to. I didn't, but it's one of those things of just how special you can tell like that
Mhm.
this was and is
Yeah.
for you still. And I mean, listen, you made it to Jersey because you came with me to the Crossroads show.
I
So
did.
you did make
I
it to
did. I
Jersey.
ended up out there again. But, you know,
Yeah.
it's just so funny because I do remember that I had so many people be like, "Surely you didn't mean Jersey. Jersey's horrible." I was like, "Ah, yes, I do mean Jersey."
Listen, Jersey has its moments, but Jersey is amazing. I'm
Yeah,
gonna say it.
it's so funny.
Yeah.
I never thought about that till now. I was like, "Oh my god, yeah." I did tell people that a lot, and they all thought I was being really weird. And they're like, "I don't think you've been there before." It's like,
Listen.
well, that's where all the good music is. So,
Exactly, exactly.
but yeah. So I got to go out for his original first line of shows, and then of course I got to go to the So Long tour. It was an interesting like so I kind of go into more specific detail in our circuit episode.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna kind of shorten up a little bit to go into the reason why this show was really important for me. But
So
you
wait,
really should be going back to watch or listening to the circuit show. So yeah, go back, make sure you listen to the circuit episode if you need to know
yeah.
more of my lore when it comes to this
Yes.
band and everything. But I'm gonna kind of shorten it up a little bit just so you can understand why this show was important to me specifically, especially now. So, my abusive ex, who was also a very huge fan, every time I traveled, he was with me. So, like everything that I went to over those years, like he was always there. And then after I left him, I had gone like about 6 years, I believe. I was trying to think and calculate. About 6 years where I missed anything Anthony did in my city because I had the fear of he's probably going to be there. I'm going to run into him, and I don't know if I'm just going to have a mental breakdown or he's going to cause a scene. I didn't know. And this is, I've learned, is very common for those of us who deal with trauma or have CPTSD, where we stop engaging with various things that we love because of our abuses are connected to it in some way. And so it took me a while before I could listen to my favorite music again. And so this show, and people know that I've been able to see him in other cities. Like,
Mhm.
I got to see him in Chicago for Boom Done, and then I got to go to New Jersey for Lisa. But those, like, he's not going to, my ex wasn't going
Right.
to be there. So
Exactly.
that's
Right. Right.
like, but I couldn't go to my city.
Right.
So if he was playing here and that was the only way I was going to be able to see him, I wouldn't see him.
Right.
But it's very common that this happens where people in abusive and traumatic issues will like walk away from their favorite things. And while it took a while, but this was such a big step for my healing journey. Without trauma dumping to Anthony, obviously, I didn't want to completely trauma dump to the man when I
Mhm.
saw him, but I told him, like, he would never be able to understand how healing this album and tour is for me, which he told me as well that making this album and touring with it has been healing for him as well, which I can only imagine. But being able to listen to this album again and it's completely redone helped me to be able to go back and listen to it again
Yeah.
because again like it was completely redone. It was like listening to it for the first time, and it was so helpful for me and my journey. And then getting to see and it's seeing him play like acoustic tiny shows on the East Coast to hearing these new versions
Oh, yeah.
in St. Louis with a bigger crowd, and it just brings it all full circle.
Yeah.
Not only how far that I've come in my healing journey, but how far he's come in his.
Mhm. I was really glad that you got to go to that because
Mhm.
I know you've expressed how difficult that is. I am
Yeah.
lucky enough that my ex, nobody liked Circa ever, so I would go alone and meet so many amazing friends. And
Yeah.
but I can only imagine that challenge. And I love that you said
Yeah.
like it was healing for him. You can tell. So I'll say
Yeah.
that like over the last times, and again, because I am in Jersey,
Mhm.
which he has not announced yet, but come on, man, announce this. Every holiday, he does a show at
Yep.
Crossroads here in Garwood. And I also love that that's where we recorded the podcast with him because it's forever. Like, that's my favorite venue. And like, just already the history of that place. But then every time I go, I'm like, I recorded this here. Like I did that
Yeah.
here. How cool is that it's here in Jersey? And I think even seeing him at those shows, I can tell a sense of, and again, we don't know him, but you can
Yeah.
see
You can
just
see.
what a healed and
Uh-huh.
how, and even after speaking with him on the podcast about, and the only reason I keep bringing that up is the fact that when he spoke about the way he views music for him and what it
Mhm.
does for him, and then when you get to go see him play. So if you don't
Yes.
it, hearing him say that and then seeing him, and I admittedly, so long Avalon, that tour came through obviously with Kurt Travis, the wonderful
Mhm.
Jeff Rickley came to Asbury Park, and I went, and again, he's like, even in VIPs, he is just hugging everybody.
Yes.
His vibe is just like when he saw me, like, like there's just these, again, because like people that are going to be there. He
Mhm.
knows, goddamn, all right, in Jersey, Lisa's going to be there somewhere. And and I still get VIP because I don't care. I've seen him
Mhm.
and met him.
Exactly. It's like,
I know that directly supports him.
yeah.
So that's what I do, and that's why I do it. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things of
We
like I
we had talked
see.
about it a lot too, and I think that people probably think that like knowing an artist so long or whatever, having all these interactions, like me and Lisa constantly talk about how we want that man to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh yeah, that's why I told like
he
he
deserves our money. Like
he was
we
like,
want
"What are
him
you
to have
doing
our
here?
money.
Like, what are you doing
Yeah.
here? I'm doing this to support you."
Yeah.
And it's one of those things of I could just tell like the happiness again, and it was one of those
Mhm.
things of again only what he has told us what he's been through, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't know,
Like,
but I know
there's
from a
probably a
show,
lot that he keeps to himself and
and
we'll
yeah,
never know. But the thing
absolutely,
is, like, give it, like, I'm an empath. So,
right,
like, I can see and kind of feel people in various ways. Okay.
right,
So, compared to some other times we're, seeing him play and everything, you can tell how
Mm-hmm.
happy he is right now,
Yeah.
how healed and healing he is doing right now.
Oh,
Like, it's just, there's a huge difference. And it's just what I saw, especially during my show, but also just in, like, even with like Ellis Dunes, like, you can tell his love. Not that he didn't love, people he worked with before, but like,
right.
especially with this tour, and then like what we have seen with him and Ellis Dunes is like he loves working with these people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's bringing out the best in him in
Yeah.
so many ways. And I think as somebody who has a lot of trauma that I'm gonna be healing from for the rest of my life, but like when you put yourself with people who just they love you and they see you and you're able to be yourself and while you're healing on top of it all, like I feel like he's found his place,
Oh,
his
and
people, and like it's just he beams like it's beautiful to
so
see.
there was a moment where I got really choked up. I got really
Hmm.
choked up a couple times in the crowd watching him and his facial reactions and
Hmm.
just feeling it. And there was a part where he walked when the whole band was playing
Hmm.
and how much he enjoys that part. And
Yeah.
I only heard him because I was in the front row, guys. I'm not like, but it's one of those things of I could see that. And even like you said, I've seen
Hmm.
him with Ellis Dunes
Yeah.
and definitely see that, especially this new
Yeah.
music they just put out. And
Yeah.
the just you can tell he's just so the joy. And again,
Hmm.
20 years of seeing him,
Yeah.
that joy is
Yeah.
just, man, it's better than ever.
It's
And I think
oh
it's
man.
one of those things, and man, what a time for him
Yeah.
to be feeling that joy with this record that he put out in
Hmm.
2008, but
Yeah.
they're, re-recorded in such a
Yeah.
special way. So it's like, what a thing I'm sure he feels getting to play these songs in a
Yeah.
different way and in a better place. And in one of those things of, because I'm not assuming anything, but I know him and Jeff Berkeley have both said when they toured together to do this tour now,
Yeah.
they're both in a better place. And
I
I think that's
know.
really beautiful to then
Yeah.
have that with Jeff Berkeley and have this tour go on when you said before you both weren't in a good place. Now you're in a
Hmm.
better place. You're touring together again. And
Yes.
it's beautiful to see on all fronts. And obviously I love
Yeah.
Kurt Travis too.
That's
He
what I
killed
think
it.
is, oh my gosh. Okay, so I went in blind,
Hmm.
not knowing anything about Kurt Travis's
Oh,
band. That band, so much fun. I
hmm,
loved that band, by the way. So I was just like,
phenomenal.
I hadn't listened to it before I went, and I was just like, oh my God, I love this. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, I don't know if Jeff mentioned it at your show or not, but he talked about that a little bit
Yeah, he
about
did.
how, yeah. And it's just like it makes it even more so like, you know, beautiful to see how that healing is coming. Because like when
Mhm.
he told me that making this album was healing for him, and give it
Yeah.
again, like we don't
Right.
know
Right.
everything that's happened with either album or like, anything like that. But like it's just, like I said, like you could just see it. You can
Yeah.
see it, you can feel it, like
It's
how good he's doing right now, how great and how much he loves all these people that he's been surrounding him with. And that's such an important part of healing as well.
and it makes me happy to see that because as
Yeah.
someone that we've heard him in interviews or speak
Mhm.
on things. And I think about all the times he was probably really struggling and still would put on
Mhm.
these shows for us.
Yeah.
Not just us, but like everybody, right? When you go on tour and the grueling parts doing this podcast, hearing what touring is and the toll it takes on
Mhm.
you. And then now you have a mental health and issue and you're on the road.
Yeah.
And I think it just made me again, I just got so emotional again for
It's
someone that is
yeah.
not like he's not my family or anything, but like it was like
Yeah.
up there, like almost like he said in the podcast where he's like, yeah, I don't know you, but you feel this weird feeling like someone
Yeah.
is doing really cool things and you're just proud of them.
It's
I
why I'm
had that
like,
weird feeling where I was like, I
it's
listen, I am just so proud and so happy for you. And I just want to
yeah.
shout from the rooftops. But again, I don't want a weird parasocial
I know this one it's like,
relationship, but I am like
yeah.
to see him in the many phases of that and probably in those moments of struggling to
Mhm.
now see him where he's at now.
Yes.
It's like it's everything. And again, I left feeling very emotional for many
Mm-hmm.
reasons.
Yeah.
Someone will find out at some point why, but there are many reasons why I was very emotional at Asbury Park. But
Yeah.
it's just it's this tour, it's going on until September, I
Yeah, I was
think the
gonna say it still
13th.
goes on for a little
If
more.
you're now, I think I know
Mm-hmm.
they're in Texas right now. When this comes out, they're going to keep going. Obviously, West, they're doing that portion of the
Mm-hmm.
tour. So if you are someone and you have not seen this tour and you are anywhere in those dates, go see this tour. It is phenomenal.
Yes.
It is the best, like I said, the best I've ever seen him. And
It's
I have been
wonderful.
honored to see
So
him
great.
so many times
Mm-hmm.
in different ways. You will not be disappointed. I wish I could have gone to more than one. That's how good it was. And
I do too.
it was
I
just
do too.
so phenomenal. And the backdrop, can we
It's
talk
so
about the
good.
backdrop? Because they had a squirrel, they had an
Oh my
otter, they had a
God, I
moon.
loved it
I want the
so much.
squirrel. Somehow,
It's
Anthony,
so
if you're
great.
listening, I don't care. Like, I don't know how much it'll cost. I need that squirrel. So, um,
See, I figured you'd want the bear.
the bear and the squirrel, we need both.
You want both. Yeah,
I,
that's fair.
I don't know how much you're
That's fair.
charging or what we can do. That fits who I am as a person. But obviously, talking about so long, Avalon, the record, the tour, everything. We gotta talk about our favorites before we wrap this up. Obviously, for me, I mean, I'm gonna go. Baby Girl is a fan favorite. It is still my
Hmm.
favorite. However, on this So Long Avalon, it is just so good. I could not put it. I had to keep it on my list. Obviously, Caliphone. I'm gonna say it, the way they redid Caliphone,
Hmm.
it is so gorgeous. It is so beautiful. They didn't play it at my show. I don't think they've been playing it.
I don't think
Um,
they played it at mine
but
either.
it is so beautiful. So I hope on the second leg, maybe they pull it out and I can see a
Maybe.
video because it is
Yeah.
just so gorgeous. And I love the way it made me fall in love with that song. And I wasn't in love with it on the first one. I liked
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
This one was like, okay. And then I gotta go Devil Song because
Hmm.
especially how they redid it and even live, going back to the show, is
Hmm.
the part where he has, we're all in the same spot and this feels like a nightmare. And he has
Hmm.
that moment is that's again where I got fucking choked up. I was like,
That's one that
this is
always like
so
even
beautiful.
before this tour, that
Mhm.
song will get you going, I feel like
Yes,
anytime.
it's so good. And like just again,
Hmm.
I think the moment how he had like this part, you do it, and we were all singing, and it was like that's what we need right now.
Hmm.
And like hard times are shows
Yeah.
like this where you're coming together. And I met so many great people that night, and it was just one of those things of we're together. It's amazing.
Hmm.
Obviously, Miracle Sun. I could go through them all, but those
Yeah.
really stuck out. And obviously the first day of work at the
Hmm.
microscope store, I'm like, I'm not going to mess up
I
this
had
title.
to write down the whole
Uh,
name because I'm like, it's such a long one.
that one, again, how this record, like, don't take my word for it. Don't even take Justine's word for it when she says shares her favorites. Just go listen to this record.
Yeah.
I am telling you, it is one of those ones, and it is a record. It is one
Hmm.
where, much
Yeah.
like when I was talking to the Casket Lottery, I was saying like their record is like a record. You have to listen to it to
Yes.
enjoy it.
Yes.
This is much like that.
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
to get the most out of it, those are just my favorites, but I would pick all of them and be here all day
Yeah.
because
No,
it changes for me.
it
But
was hard for me to narrow down which ones to talk about.
yeah, like what are the ones
Yeah.
for you?
Oh, of course, right off the bat, the one that I was like, I need to hear it played live, of course, which has always been one of my favorites, is First Day at the Work at the microscope store.
Of course.
So I was so glad to be able to hear it live because it's even more fun and even more put together than originally.
Yes.
But funny story is that I remember back in the day, I was talking to one of the boardies about the line I had heard. I used to think that the part that says kissing the turns, I thought he was saying kissing with tongues. And then the boardie that I was talking to was like, well, you know what, to be fair, that would still make sense. So
I thought the
it's
same
like,
thing, Justine. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
yeah.
Sometimes like the lyric.
Sometimes that's why I make sure, especially like over the years, that's why I always was a big fan of the AZ lyrics website. I still go to it from time to time to make sure I'm getting the lyrics correct because there's so many times where I'm positive this is what they're saying and it is not. Like, so I always don't want to embarrass myself in thinking that like the line is something else and somebody's like, what are you talking about? That's not what
Mm-hmm.
you're saying. But I love that song. I've always loved that song, but I was excited to be able to hear it live. Um, I also really love the new version of Slowing Down.
Oh yeah.
I remember back in the day seeing an article, and I can't remember where this article was, but it was talking about that it was like the list of happiest breakup songs, and it was on there. And what's even funnier is that I think it's even more so true now with the new version because it's so good. I stem really good with this new version of it.
I know.
I
Mhm.
love that song now. Like I liked it back then too, but now this is one of those songs that like completely I was like, I love this song now.
Yeah.
It's so good. And it's so good live. Um
Hmm.
and then of course I always have loved Drug Dealer. I still
Yes.
really love Drug
Oh,
Dealer. Like
same.
as somebody who is a people pleaser, who listens to music like it's a drug, okay?
Mhm. Same.
Um, it really hits. Like that song is so good. It's even better now than it was originally. It just like it's hard not to list every single one of these songs.
I
They're
know.
all so good.
It's so
So
hard, and
good.
even thinking about them, and like I think again, how I felt when I listened to this one, how I felt back then, and how I feel
Mm-hmm.
now, and it's like
Yeah.
it's changed in a different way because like slowing down
Same.
was one of those. Whenever
Mm-hmm.
I would get, it's gonna sound really stupid, but whenever I would get into like a little tiff with someone I was dating,
Yeah.
things start slowing down for you and I. Like, and I know, like, whatever.
Start
Listen,
blaring that. I'm like, oh,
listen.
just you wait,
When
buddy.
I have said that this man and the music has been the soundtrack to my life, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
joking.
Yeah.
Little moments like that. And now I don't have that now, but
Yeah.
it's
No,
different
it's
now. And it's one of those things of like, that just goes to show how you can
mm-hmm.
grow.
Yeah.
And again, when we talk about things of growing with him.
Yes.
I think or in being with fans, it's one of those
Mm-hmm.
things of he is someone that again remembers people and remembers
Yes.
faces. And
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, I don't know why there's the connection. And
Mm-hmm.
people have asked, but it's one of those things I'm just so grateful for. I'm thankful for all the support he's thrown this
Yeah.
podcast, what we're doing, and also like just that he thinks what we created is pretty cool. Like that's pretty cool to
Mm-hmm.
like think that like, wow, this musician that I love so much sees
Yeah.
something in us and what we're putting out
Mm-hmm.
there. And like, we got that inspiration from him.
Yeah.
And our first episode was Circa Survive together when I
And
brought you
it's like
on. Like it's like
it's one of
weird
those things
moments.
too. It's like if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here right now with
Right.
this.
He
We met
is
because of
that
him.
glue.
Like this podcast, even before it was a podcast, you have talked to him in the past, haven't you? When it was the original
Oh my gosh, yeah.
stereotherapy.
So
Like it's just
I have a interview which
yeah,
in the podcast we did.
yeah.
Yeah, I would always talk to him about what I wanted to do in music and what I wanted to accomplish, and I wanted to change the way women are viewed talking
Hmm.
music. And I remember he would always say things like, I'm like, hey, I want to take over I want to do this. And he would say, like,
Yeah,
I hope you do. You will change that. You are doing that. And
yeah,
he'd always guide me in various ways, like whether it was at VIPs or shows and things of that nature. And in that little circa booklet is me saying what I want to do. And when we got to show him,
yeah,
I feel like his reaction was almost like, whoa, like look at that time capsule. Like, look at
yeah.
that capsule of that and then what you're doing now. And then I know again that he's on that
Mhm.
journey now in a way because whether
Yeah.
when he wanted to come on and express that he wanted to come on, and it's one of those things of again, there's that force of his music. I don't know what I would do without his music. Forever a circa tattoo. You and me both have
Hmm.
them. It's
Like the
forever and it's
like
there.
I know I don't know what I would do if, not to be all mushy, but I don't know what what I would do if I didn't get that music in my life,
Hmm.
have it had me meet you,
Yeah.
and us have this stay. I think it's a beautiful thing that, and another reason why I wanted to make sure we talk about that again, because it's one of those things where people, constantly don't think about how amazing and proud, not only of me, of you and what you've accomplished, but like it shows people that sometimes those dreams can come true if you keep fighting and doing it. And what anybody needs to take from this is to see how hard Lisa has worked all this time to achieve her dreams. And she's doing it right now, guys. Look what's happened. Like, we've had Anthony on the show. He has shown how much he has loved what Lisa's been doing this whole damn time. He loved you back then with what you're doing. He loves you
Yeah.
now. It is so amazing that people really need to see how amazing you are. Like, and I mean that.
No,
Like,
Justine, this is the
not only
wrong week
Anthony,
to
but
be.
how
No,
you.
I it is wild when I think about that of things like that because I always said that like yeah that was 2011 I'm gonna do that I'm gonna do this
Mhm.
and I especially this last week like having to get Nathan Ellis the casket lottery like and
Yeah.
again the only complaint people were like oh it's short listen the number
Sometimes
one
that's all you
the
get,
number one
you
thing I
know?
do is I'm
Yeah.
respectful and if somebody
Yeah.
is in the studio and
Hmm.
I'm always going to keep it how I'm going to keep it. But that was a big thing of like, holy shit. I'm not going to lie, people. When I was like, holy shit, this man is in front of me and let me
Yeah.
not just waste his time. But like, it took moments of like what Anthony has said at shows or
Mhm.
like when he was with us of like, believe in yourself, you can do
Yeah.
this because I really would psych myself out. And in taking those opportunities too of putting us out there. Like our podcast has
Mhm.
done some really cool things this year. And I know it's because of
Yeah.
his support of that, of me kind of believing in that, of, and I know it sounds really cheesy, oh, because he did, oh, other people, but no, but like there's that force of I
Yeah.
can do this. Once I sat down with him, I can do this. I can do
Mhm.
that. And
Yes.
I think that's a really thing because like this, there's so many things on the way with this podcast that I can't talk about yet, but like,
Yeah.
yeah,
We can't talk about, but big things are happening.
there's gonna be a
Big
couple
things are
things that
happening.
it's gonna be like
Yeah.
well, again, and I think too, you need to give yourself a lot of credit with that because you hopped on a podcast that was not successful with another co-host for some reasons I don't need to rehash, but you know, you were taking a chance on
Mhm.
something and coming onto it too and not knowing what you were getting into, what that entailed. And this podcast wouldn't even be here if you didn't jump on because I would not that first year, like there, like especially that, right, getting it off the ground,
Yeah.
getting people to, oh, she can do this after like her podcast failed the first time and really, really sucked and people thought it was awful. You know? And I know in a weird way, I know universe and energy and things like that
Mhm.
worked out that again, the Anthony connection of
Mhm.
us doing it and then getting you to be there for the Anthony interview and not somebody else, right? It wouldn't
Yeah.
have worked. I don't think it would have worked in that way. Um, and so that's why it's just one of those things of I think it is like anyone listening, whether you're doing anything,
Mhm.
just too, and you never know who's watching you or who's going to
Yeah.
support you. And that at the end of the day, too, your friends and family are not your main supporters.
Yeah.
It sucks to hear that. They are
Mhm.
not your main supporters. You focus on the people that do see you. And for a long time, again, I know this is a little rant and it is off topic of So Long Avalon and our favorite songs, and we're gonna wrap it up. But I want people to hear it of they're not your audience. And that for a long time I
Mhm.
used to get very mad or why aren't they liking this? And I had some big moments
Mhm.
this past week, right? And not a like, not a nothing, not a by certain people that I think should have.
Mhm.
And I think I stopped paying attention to that stuff and only pay attention to the people that get it. I only
Mhm.
pay attention to the people that are truly supportive and in my
Yeah.
life and in our lives and like things like that. And I think it's so important whether you're doing something photography, creative,
Yeah.
like you just don't know who's watching because for a long time before we even knew it, Anthony saw the podcast and
Yeah.
shared it on his Instagram. I had no idea. And I still remember little things like that. Like, you just don't know who's watching you.
It's
And
true.
the
Yeah.
PR agencies that I've recently connected with that have been
Mhm.
phenomenal. I honestly, I'm just going to say this to you. I doubt they're listening, but I mean, dream PR agency was always Adam Splitter PR. They have
Yes.
a
Hmm.
amazing, ever since I started this podcast, I was like, I want to
Yeah,
work with
no,
Adam
that was a
Splitter
bucket list. That was a
PR.
bucket
And
list for Lisa.
the fact
Yeah.
that I got that email and then it was the casket lottery. And then not
Yep.
only that, um, just so kind over there. And for me, that was one of those moments of keep going. So like the right people will see you. And
Yes.
I've had many moments in this journey of this podcast of that I didn't want to keep
Yeah.
going. I wasn't sure about it. But the people, just pay attention to the people that do care, that
Yeah.
will like, that will reshare, or
But
just say like,
also,
hell yeah, like that's
like,
awesome. Like that matters more than even a like and a share. Like hell,
yeah.
like that's really freaking cool.
But also, don't forget, like, Lisa's also proof that, like, even when things are starting to fail or things are going wrong, it doesn't mean it's over, you
Mhm.
know? Like, struggled off the bat trying to get the podcast
Ooh,
going with a
yeah.
different person. And it's just like that in itself should remind people as well, because it's really easy when things go all wrong where you're just like, well, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going back. But it sometimes it takes trying again before things really start to be like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, you
Yeah.
know?
No, 100%. I recommend that to anybody because yeah, it was very easy for me to not want to and just say this is a sign not to do it. Like, oh, I'm done. Like boom, I
Mhm.
almost said boom done, but I'm done. But yeah, I think to anyone listening, and I think it was just it's really an important thing for people to hear because I'm sure a lot of Anthony fans are creatives.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
need to know
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
And again, you didn't not necessarily have to have a favorite band member see you, but the right people will always see you
Yeah.
because I'm telling you, a lot of people in the beginning were like, "Oh, you need to get better at networking. You need to get better at networking." But I always was just not surrounded by the
Mhm.
right people. And it's one of those
Exactly.
things of
Exactly.
now, so it's just understand that. And yeah, I guess we'll leave it off there. But obviously, go listen to this record. I know we
Yes.
rambled a lot. I'm gonna figure out how to do this episode. But if you're still here, obviously new episodes every Tuesday. And starting in the fall, in September, we will be video podcast as well. So what that means is if you want to go to YouTube, we're gonna have video. The first one is gonna be with Haunter. They're amazing. They're coming back and they wanted to come back. And I was like, all right, you're gonna be the first video podcast. We got this. But so also moving forward too, if you're a guest and you want to come on our show and you only want to do audio, let us
Yeah.
know. I understand.
I was
I
gonna
get the
say
comfort.
we understand.
100%. I'm not going to
Yeah.
force video, but I wanted to introduce it because, like anyone else, I know that is the one thing holding this podcast back. We have the
Yeah.
conversations, we have everything. That's what we need. So, obviously, yeah, new episodes every Tuesday. Those will drop. And then starting September, video podcasts. So, all that good stuff. If you liked this one or other episodes we have done, a positive rating and review goes such a long way for our show. It truly, truly helps. Follow, subscribe, all of that.
Yeah. All the things.
And if you like video, go head over to our YouTube channel because
Yeah.
there's
Make
going to
sure you
be
add us
video.
there. Yeah.
And we've already been gaining a little bit of speed there. So thankful for that. And obviously, too, before I go, this spiel is getting longer and longer, but we are part of the Never a Phase Network. It is a network of cool creators, podcasters just like us, a lot of cool things going on there. You can visit us at all the links below for Never a Phase Network. I really am proud of what we are putting together and
It's a great group of
all
people.
the great group of people that we get
Yeah.
to be a part of. And Stereotherapy is on that. We have shirts now, so I will link that. We have shirts, Stereotherapy shirts, because I was like, where's my shirt? So we have Stereotherapy shirts,
Yeah.
and they will be out, and we will see you guys next time. All right, bye, guys.